Hey everyone, and welcome to a new tutorial about installing and configuring Laravel Reverb. And the reason for creating this tutorial is when I was trying to install and configure Laravel Reverb, then I faced some issues and it took me around 1 or 2 days to make it work properly. So yeah, I just thought that you might be facing those issues, and in this video we'll be looking at how we can configure Reverb properly, and this might save you some time because I will guide you through the steps that you need to configure it properly and some possible errors that you might face. So yeah, let's go ahead and configure this in this tutorial. So here, as you can see, I'm using the Laravel installer to install a fresh Laravel project, and I'm naming this project as Reverb Setup. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And for this tutorial, I'll be using the Laravel Breeze starter kit. It doesn't really matter which stack we choose, but for simplicity, we will be choosing the Laravel Breeze stack, and we will be using the Blade with Alpine stack. So let's go ahead and choose that. And we don't need dark mode support. So I'll go ahead and hit enter. And for the testing framework, we won't be testing anything, but still I'll go ahead and choose best. And yeah, I would like to initialize a Git repository. So I'll choose yes. And yeah, this is going to install a fresh Laravel project. And for the database, I'm going to choose SQLite. So let's choose that, and I'll be right back once this finishes installing. Okay, so the project has been installed. Let's cd into the project and let's open that up in our code editor. And yeah, we'll start by installing the Reverb related stuff. And in Laravel version 11, to install all of those stuff, we can use a command called broadcasting install or install broadcasting, something like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Install broadcasting, I think that's the command. So let's go ahead and run that. And this is gonna configure everything for us, like publishing the broadcasting.php file along with the channels and reverb configuration file. And it will also install the reverb composer package along with the front-end dependencies like Laravel Echo and Pusher.js. So yeah, this is going to do everything for us, and we only need to make a few changes based on our project. So yeah, let's go ahead and hit enter. And as you can see, this published the broadcasting.php configuration file and the channels.php route file. And this is asking whether we want to install Laravel Reverb. So let's go ahead and choose yes. And this is going to install the composer package. And we can see those changes in our GitHub source control toolbar. And yeah, this is also asking whether we want to install the node dependencies. So yeah, we need those. So I'll go ahead and choose yes. And here, as you can see, if we go ahead and open up the composer.json, then as you can see, this installed the Laravel Reverb package. And let's also open up the package.json. Then as you can see, this installed the Laravel Echo and Pusher.js node packages. And on our app.php, as you can see, this published the channels.php route file and registered that over here. So this is basically required for the broadcasting related stuff. And let's also open up the reverb.php. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff configured in here. And the default reverb server is reverb. And here, as you can see, the host and the port and the host name, the max request size, and all of these stuff is pulled from our environment variable. And let's also open up the bootstrap.js. Then as you can see, this added a comment and imported the echo.js file. And if we go ahead and open that up, then as you can see, there's some configuration already implemented for us related to Laravel Echo. And this is again taking all the configurations from our environment file. So yeah, we can now go ahead and look into the environment file and try to understand what's going on. So let's open that up. And yeah, we need to make a few changes in this environment file based on our project configuration. So as you can see, we have an app URL of reverb setup.test, and let's go ahead and further look into the environment file. So the first thing that matters in here is the queue connection, and by default this is set to database. And to make things work in a setup where the queue connection is set to database, we need to run the queue work command to process our jobs or events. But in this case, I want to see these events being triggered without storing it into the database. So what I will do is update this by passing sync, and this is gonna run those events directly without storing them into the database. And let's further look into our environment file. So here, as you can see, these are all the configurations that Reverb added, and these app IDs and app keys and the app secrets are generated by our command and added in here. So these are some random strings that are generated. And here, as you can see, we have this Reverb host, which needs to be updated based on our project configuration. So in this case, the app URL is reverb setup.test. So I'll just go ahead and copy that and overwrite the reverb host key with the app URL. And one more thing to note here is we are not passing the prefix of HTTP or HTTPS because we have that over here. And the reverb port is 8080, and we don't have to do anything about this, and everything else looks good. So yeah, let's save this and let's go ahead and work on some other stuff. So the configuration is done. Let's now go ahead and install Livewire, because we will be using Livewire to listen for the events that our backend dispatches, and we will be listening for those events in our Livewire component. So let's go ahead and install Livewire. So composer require Livewire. Let's hit enter, and this is going to install the Livewire package. And to emit the events, we will be using the events of Laravel. So let's go ahead and look into that as well. So we'll define a simple event called order shipped, and yeah, based on your needs, you can go ahead and define multiple events for different areas of your application. In this case, I'm just defining a simple event called order shipped, and we will be dispatching this into a public channel, and we will be listening for that event in our Livewire component. So let's go ahead and define this event, and let's open that up. And to broadcast this event, we need to implement the should broadcast interface. So let's go ahead and do that. And on our construct, we may pass some data to this event, and that data will be available to us as payloads. And yeah, we'll be looking into that later once we dump that payload into our Livewire component. But for now, I'll just go ahead and pass a simple order ID, because you might have a use case where you need to pass some additional data to your event. So let's go ahead and pass an order ID, and I'm passing a default value of 1 to this. And here, as you can see, we have this broadcast on method defined, which is passing an array of channels that we want to broadcast to. And in this case, I want to broadcast this event to a public channel, and we can do that by just passing a channel class. And in this case, I want to broadcast this to a channel called dashboard. And yeah, this is all demonstration. I'm just showing you how to implement Laravel Reverb into our application, and you can name this anything you want, like comments if you are making a comment to a project, or post if you are storing a post and triggering an event. So yeah, this could be anything, and we will be listening for this event on this channel on our Livewire component. So yeah, this is basically an identifier, and this channel can be broadcasted to multiple users. So yeah, this is a public channel in this case, and we'll be passing a channel name of dashboard in this case. So yeah, this is done. Let's now go ahead and define a new Livewire component and listen for this event. And whenever we receive that event, we want to just dump the payload in this case. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So in this case, I'm going to define a simple Livewire component called dashboard, and we can do that by calling make Livewire. And for this case, I'm going to define a simple Livewire component called dashboard, and here we will be listening for that event that is being triggered from here, which is the order shipped event, and we will be triggering this from our tinker, and you can do that from anywhere, but just to demonstrate this, I'm going to use tinker. So yeah, let's open up the Livewire component. Here we have the dashboard, and to listen for events in our Livewire component, we can use the on convention, and just like any normal Livewire event, we can pass that. So we want to listen for the order shipped event, and the channel name is dashboard, as you can see. And we also need to instruct Livewire that we are listening for the echo events. And if we go ahead and look into the documentation, let's open that up. So here, as you can see, to listen for echo related events, we need to instruct Livewire that we are listening for events on the echo channel, or I don't know what to say to that, but yeah, we just want to listen for events made from Laravel Echo. And the reason we installed Laravel Echo as a node dependency is this will listen for the events that are made by the Laravel Reverb package, which is implemented using WebSockets. And to instruct Livewire, what we can do here is we can either use this block of code in our JavaScript file, or we can listen for events on our Livewire components as well. So as you can see, we are listening for the order shipped event on the orders channel, and the echo prefix is passed in here to instruct Livewire that we are listening for events made from the echo package. So let's go ahead and implement that. So we want to listen for order shipped event, and the channel in this case is dashboard. I know that the naming doesn't sound so good in here, but yeah, I hope that you understand what I'm trying to implement. And we want to listen for the echo events, and let's also go ahead and implement this properly. So we want to listen for order shipped event on the dashboard channel, and we only want to listen for the events that are dispatched by our echo package, and this in turn will listen for the WebSocket emitted events, and then Livewire is going to capture that and run some block of code whenever that happens. So on this method, we can also pass the payload that we have passed from here. So in this case, we are passing a payload of the order ID, and this will be injected on our listener. So as you can see, we have that over here, but let's name this function. So let's say I'm going to name this as dump, and we also need to import this on from the Livewire attributes on namespace. So that's done. And here, let's just go ahead and dump the payload just to see this thing in action. And yeah, this looks good. Let's now go ahead and give this a try. Let's see whether this will work or not. And if there are any issues, then we will go ahead and fix it accordingly. But first, we also need to render this somewhere to execute this component. Otherwise, this is not going to work. So let's go ahead and open up our dashboard dot blade, and here, instead of passing a static text, I'm going to render the Livewire component that we just defined, which is the dashboard component. So let's go ahead and pass that, and we also need to continuously run npm run dev to compile our scripts. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll open up a new session in here and run npm run dev, and let's go ahead and look into the project. So I'll open up the project in a Firefox browser. So let's open that up, reverb setup.test, and I'm using Laravel herd to serve my site. So this will be available in the name of the project. So in this case, it's going to be reverb setup.test. And let's quickly go ahead and register a new user because we need to access the dashboard. So admin@admin.com. Password is gonna be password. Let's hit enter. Okay, we don't have anything in here. So let's just go ahead and pass something on our dashboard.blade just to make sure that this thing is being rendered. So let's reload, and now as you can see, our dashboard component is rendered in here, and we are defining a listener for the order shipped event and on the dashboard public channel, and we only want to listen for the events that are dispatched by the echo package. So let's go ahead and give this a try. But first, we also need to run the reverb server. So let's go ahead and do that. Artisan reverb start, and I'll also pass the debug option to see the logs in our terminal. So let's go ahead and hit enter, and we can confirm whether our WebSocket is working or not by looking into our inspector tool. So let's open up the console, and we are getting this error. As you can see, Firefox can't establish a connection to the server, reverb setup.test, and we are getting some errors. Okay, we don't have that error anymore. So let's see whether we get that error. Okay, there's no any error. So I think the WebSocket implementation is working fine. And again, we can verify that by looking into our terminal. So as you can see, this is subscribing and we are getting some data in here. And the channel, as you can see, this is also listening to the dashboard channel that we have defined in our order shipped event. And the only thing remaining here is to go ahead and dispatch the order shipped event. And we can do that by using Tinker. So let's open up a new session again, and I'll just go ahead and run a new Tinker session. And here we can just go ahead and dispatch the order shipped event. And if everything is working fine, then we should see the payload being dumped in here. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So I'll just go ahead and dispatch this order shipped event, and without any page refreshes, the payload should be dumped. So let's go ahead and give this a try. I'll just hit enter, and yeah, this executed successfully. And if we go ahead and look into our browser, then you can see I have not refreshed the page and the payload is being dumped in here. So yeah, this thing is working. And one last thing that I want to mention here is, while I was trying this out in a Chromium based browser, it didn't work as expected. I don't know what's happening, but this works in a Firefox browser, but in a Chromium based browser, it doesn't work. So I don't know what's happening, but yeah, let's go ahead and give this a try. I have a browser called Arc installed, and I'll try to test this in that browser, and let's see whether that's gonna work or not, because earlier when I tried it, it wasn't working. So let's see. Let's try to find out whether that will work in a Chromium based browser. And I think this is happening because there's some security measures applied in a Chromium based browser. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, I'll try to look into that issue. If this doesn't work out, and I'll probably make another video or try to let you know about it. So yeah, I have opened up this in a Chromium based browser, and as I've already mentioned, I have Arc installed. So let's go ahead and log in because we need to access the dashboard. So I'll try to log in with the credentials that we created in the Firefox browser. Let's log in, and we can confirm this whether this is working or not by looking into our inspector. If we go ahead and look into the console, okay, we don't have any errors, so I think this is working, which is a good thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and dispatch another event. And okay, I'll just reload this browser as well, and if everything is working, then the payload should be dumped on this browser and the Chromium based browser as well. So yeah, we don't have any errors in here, so I think this is working. And let's go ahead and dispatch one more event. I'll just run that command again, and if we go ahead and look into the browser, okay, this is working. So yeah, this is finally working on all the browsers, and yeah, the reverb setup is now complete. And yeah, this is working on both the Firefox and the Arc browser. And I hope that this was helpful to you, and I've tried to cover everything that you might need to install and configure Laravel Reverb with all the possible issues that you might face. And one last thing that I want to mention here is if you are upgrading from Laravel version 10, then on your broadcasting.php, let's open that up. This file is already included in Laravel version 10, and instead of broadcasting connection, this is, I think, named as broadcasting driver. So yeah, make sure to go ahead and update this accordingly. And since this is already installed in Laravel version 10, so the broadcasting install command doesn't override this class, and this value won't be present in the older version of Laravel. So yeah, you have to pass this as well to make everything work properly. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that if you're using a project that is upgraded from Laravel 10, then you have to pass these, otherwise it will not work properly. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful, and thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.